Alright guys, so we are here and I am working and this is going to be my quiver. Now it looks like it'd be heavy. It's actually feather light. This stuff's great for that. High impact foam. And I had to turn on the flash so you guys can see what's going on here. So in the bottom, I have two 4-inch tall cups that are about an inch diameter. It gives me well, an inch and a half actually. It gives me enough room that I can put easily 3 arrows into each of those. Now you can see there's a plastic liner here. It's because this is going to be over my shoulder on my right side. I'm also going to put one here in a very particular shape so that it slots into here and lines this portion so that if I hit it with an arrow, it'll just lead right down into that little plastic chute there, and that's it. And I'd have to really ram it into that corner to miss, and I'm not that inaccurate. I'll be in here, and it just is there to help me guide it in. Plus, because this is the left side of it, and I'm reaching from the right side will be angled, so it's just at my right shoulder, so I can grab out of any of these. But because this one technically is behind my head, therefore, I want to have just the right setup. See this, how it's angled to the right, not to the left? That's because if I'm reaching for this, it's not glued in yet, but it's about to be. So I'm going to glue all this in. And when I'm done, I'll have a little tray on this side, you might think, but when it's coming in off my right shoulder, it's so easy for me to put it in this one. It's more natural, and I'd have to reach my hand way around behind my head like this and jam it in to ever worry about needing a deflector going the other way. So I won't be hitting this inside. What happens is you hit here. So this one's actually set up fairly high. And like I said, it's not actually glued in yet, but it's about to be. And it's going to be right about there. So that when I interact with it, it's going to direct my arrow down into the chute, which is really good. Now, on the other side, I want it to be leaned over a little bit. So if I'm hitting here, it'll angle it down. On the other side, it gives it a bit shallower angle here, so I have more room to get it in, which is perfect. Which is why I need a blocker here and not here. So, glue gun is warming up. Give me a second. I'm just going to heat things up, and we'll get things started. All right, so hold on. All right, so this is glued. Now, if you look at the shape, it's designed so that when I'm reaching in from the right, there's actually a little bow here. It's to give it a little extra strength, so I'll feel that, and it'll just brush against it and direct it down. It's actually a good design. If I make it flat this way, it'll kind of tend to want to push it around, and I don't want to do that. I want to glue it in so it's kind of braced, because this is the direction it's actually going to be taking hits from. So when it sits, it'll sit braced top and bottom against a tension setup, which is great because as soon as I glue that in, I don't know if you guys know glue gun glue with this foam material and this type of plastic, but they stick really well together on both counts. So that's looking about perfect. I'm just going to glue it in. I'll be right back. All right, so now that everything's glued in place, you can see I've got the shelf, and while there is a little gap in here from the top, it really does block that gap very well and will deflect any arrow that hits here right into there, any one that hits here right into there. Now on this side, you might think that I'm going to need one here, but I'm not inclined to stab it. I'll be coming in on an angle, and all I have to do is be anywhere near this part of the, and we're good to go. So I am going to cut out for this one. I just wanted to show you guys the internal structure of this. And as you can see, it is pretty good. I've really got no complaints with it. It's been an easy to make thing. All it took was some real basic materials right out of the garbage, and everything is good to go. It's also, I wanted to point out, I have drilled some holes in the bottom of this. I started with the body reamer and put holes in the vital places. There's also a hole in each corner. And the reason is each of these trays has an actual plastic cup in the bottom of it. You can just see the little holes there in the bottom here. And this one actually has quite a big plastic container. I just removed the lid. It was about that big around and about that deep, and fits the three of them together, take up the entire space here at the bottom of it. And that is the reason for the shape, is that's the size. So these are great. They're drainage holes. And then if there's water in the rest of it, it'll drain through these two big holes right here. And that's the one up against your back. So when you have it on your back, it'll kind of be on that angle anyway when you're walking and stuff. So even if it was raining, you'll be okay. Everything in here is completely waterproof and it's fairly durable. That being said, that's pretty much it. It's nice and light. Also, I am going to attach it to my shoulder sling, so, and to a belt loop here, so I can have it on my belt, and up top will be a shoulder sling. So when I'm done, I will show you guys that. I could make a lid for it that flips down here, which would actually be good because it'll push it a bit away from my back and put the arrow farther away from me. That's not so good. I like it right tight to my back and the arrows are close, and I don't have to reach too far for them. This is really set up for my personal preferences. But on the plus side, I've already test fitted. I can easily fit 3 arrows in each of these cups and have lots of room left. So you don't ruffle your feathers. So I can put 3 of each of my favorite kinds in here. And this one, you can easily put 8 to 12 arrows. And the cup at the bottom is more than big enough. Now, if you're taking target tips, that's what this is for. But you could also put a few hunting tips in, which is why I wanted the reinforcement. And just generally the guide to make sure that you'll know where you're sticking your arrow. And that way I don't mix the types of arrows. Keep one for shorter arrows, one for longer arrows, one for heavier arrows, kind of a thing. And that way I have a variety with me. Anyway, that's it for this one, guys. This is the rest of the arrow quiver, and honestly I really like it. I mean, I see lots of other people making quivers. They always make one that holds 3 arrows, it seems like, and I don't know, I don't want to walk up to the target after 3 arrows if I can put 5 or 6 down range, especially if I'm outdoors and stuff. It's so much better just to be able to play until I'm done, and at the same time I like to fire multiple types of arrows and experiment with different grains and all that stuff. This will mean I can have up to 3 different kinds of arrows. And hey, if I want to just jam a dozen arrows into it, there's no reason I can't do that either. In fact, at that point, I can use just 2 of those and keep this one for, say, damaged arrows or ones I don't intend to reuse, or for a special one or for hunting or whatever. I mean, it always gives you options, and that's why I did it. So that's it for this one. I hope you guys get some use out of it. It's actually looking really good. I've used this type of glue gun glue with this type of foam before, and they're actually really strong together. They bond really nicely, and these are all bonded properly. And it's actually going to be a really good setup. I'm actually pretty excited. Now, what I think I should do is add just a little bit more plastic reinforcement, you might think, to here, to the backside, but there's no point. I mean, I'm not trying to stab myself in the back with the arrow. It's going to be anywhere in here. What I could do, because it's probably useful, is extend this plastic here and cover this area so that I have that nice protection there, and I'll do that, and then this will be done. It's a real easy type of setup, and I've basically got some material here. I'll just put it in the same fashion. You just line it up, figure out roughly your template like this, and that way if I hit the back of it while I'm putting an arrow in, I'll have that. Or conversely, I could go the other way and just, which is actually what I'm gonna do, and just try and make it so it's like that. And that way I don't hit the side of it either. I could just tuck it in like that and just raise it up that little bit, and that'll be perfect because I'm unlikely to hit the edge of this exactly. So I think that's what I'll do. That being said, simple as pie, really easy. Of course, I'm not leaving the strap on it. Or am I? Because that brings me to my next point. I was thinking about maybe doing a cover. Well, this will give me a way to let the cover fall free over my left shoulder, which is actually ideal for me. have an attachment point here that's actually quite strong plastic riveted. And in the end, I can keep my extra down there and just have a cap for it. So let's say I put my arrows into it and it starts to rain. I'm not going to take my arrows out. I'm more thinking it's more of a dust cover for when it's not in use. I can just put a cover on, tuck this down inside. This will be on the bottom of the cover. And as I close the cover, everything's tucked down inside. It's nice and neat. And if it ever did start pouring rain and I wanted to cover it, I could absolutely cover it. And that is handy. And for really short arrows, if you were using crossbow bolts and it started to rain, this could prove to be very handy. Or really short arrows. Speaking of which, I am going to give you guys the final bit of detail on this now that it's finished, because it is designed to have the arrows stick out the top. As you can see, it's not that tall. But for crossbow, oh, that'd be plenty. That'd be about right. But because the arrows are going to stick out to here, I don't actually want to change that. You might think I do, but I don't know. I like this idea because it'll help me to make sure my arrows go into the slot, plus it'll hold the cover. I like the idea of having it be covered, partly because I have a pet snake and she could easily get in here and it would be very difficult to get her out. Also, there's places on the plastic that are sharp edges that weren't made for her and could cut her, or at least rough up her skin, and I don't want that. So I'm definitely going to install the cover, which only means I take a piece of this scrap material that I have, and I see if I can find a way like that to use the scrap, which I pretty much can, especially if, as I intend, it'll be form fit. So it won't go over top. It'll actually push down in just by friction and lock itself in right here. So that's next. Until then, I'll see you guys later. This is going to be real simple, and when it's finished, it'll look wood grain, which won't be so bad. And really, the way this is set up, if I go widest to widest and narrowest to narrowest, there you go, a little bit of logic, and in no time, I will have this done. So, I'm going to cut it here. No point you watching me do this. What the heck. I'll do it, and then I'll show it to you. Hold on. Alright, so I've cut my top. I've decided instead of trying to press it in, I'm just going to have it sit on top and have it sit like this. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to glue some tabs onto it so that they fit. And the best way to do that is for me to lay it up like this, kind of look at it and see how it's going to fit. And then when I flip it over, it'll fit. Now, you'll notice this side is a little wider than this side, but it's because on this side, I'm not going to miss this by going over here. On this side, you just might miss the quiver, so it's good to have it just a little bit wider in that spot for my experience. It's not going to be so super watertight, but it will be enough that it'll be friction fit over top of it. I could have done a more careful job of trimming it, but I was actually originally just going to stuff it down inside, and I could do that. It's literally very close, but when I realized that it would be almost impossible for me to get it watertight anyway, I mean, at that point, what's the difference, right? And if it's not going to be watertight, and if I'm outdoors or take it camping, I'd rather be able to cover it at least on the top anyway and just have it sit like this. But the trick now is just to get it set up so that it will sit as close to correct as possible. And then I can figure out exactly where. It actually does line up pretty good to where it needs to. So right about there. And once I do that, I can figure out where these guys have to get located. And I'm just going to use them in the same fashion. I'm just going to glue them in place and make sure that they're friction fit to this guy. So easiest way to do that is to mount them like this and then just trim them. And so that as you push into it, they get firm, they get friction fit. So on the end, it'll give me some leeway here to work with. So as it comes into contact, it'll just kind of scrape into place. But I don't want these making contact where stuff like that is. So I'm going to put one here on the inside of the lid. So it'll sit down like this. Another one on the inside here, and they'll friction fit into place. And then do the same thing over here at the top and over here in the corner. And right there, I will not, but I will right there. So it'll work out. There will be enough spots locating it that it should just be fine. I still got one more piece here to glue in, and then I'm on to the next step. Hold on. All right, so I just did my test fit, and I am now letting this dry. This is intentionally a little stuffed forward so that right at the front, it gets just enough tension to hold it closed. And these are intentionally just a little off, but it's because I want it to grab tension wherever it can. So these are designed so they really don't take up much tension, but they fit the side snugly. And it should be just about ready now to let these last few dry. And it doesn't take long with glue gun glue. So I just want to check. You want to wait till they're pretty much cool. And now, she be a closable SD. And it should just kind of close for me. But I gotta do it one-handed, of course, and be awkward and difficult. And like I said, up at the front, it just clips in. So that's that. But now it's actually holding strong enough where I can pick it up by this. No, but it is strong enough where it's not just popping off, and I actually have to consciously make the choice to push it into place. But that was the design. Friction fit as promised. Works awesome. And this is another quick, easy DIY. The other thing is, because it's on my right shoulder, this can be directed any which way I care to, out of the way, and preferably out behind me, so that it's totally out of the way and I won't be bothered by it whatsoever. And if I want to, I can actually put a little Velcro thing on it. I probably will, knowing me, just so I can hold this down and out of the way should I want to. And it'll just be a little Velcro piece right here to hold the strap. But it's a good plastic rivet setup. It's good and strong. I've got it nicely reinforced now in all the places that I need to. And it's done. The only thing left to do now is attach it to whatever means your holster will be. And that is entirely up to you. But I did make this strong enough where I can pick up the whole thing by it. So I wasn't kidding. I really can pick up the whole thing by it. So what I recommend is you stuff that down in there and you start in the corner where it was designed not to really have tension. Heck no. Start right at the front and you'll lock it in real nice right away. Now, if I want to, I can cut another piece of this now that it's fitted for trim and make it fit all the way around. And then another thin piece just to cover, or cut it triangular from here, like so, and whoop, to match whatever angles, and then put it in and insert it and glue that into place separately, which is what I'm going to do next, so that my lid will slot in and you'll never know. It'll just look like a solid top and you'll be like, man, why would you carry that? You dumb shit. But on the bottom, it's great. It's got my drainage. It's got everything. This is it. Good to go. Ready to rock and roll and in a good shape. It does the job and it holds its place well. It is, in fact, not quite strong enough for you to pick it up by. I could make it that way just by adjusting this back corner where this one sits. It really didn't. I could put another one here, but I don't want to do that. And the reason is this guy right here. I don't want to be rubbing anywhere where these are in place. I didn't want to put it. So this is why I say start with the front, because this way it's a guarantee that you won't corrupt any of the work you've already done. You start with the front, you put it in place, and that guarantees that these are located in such a way, as you can see, that they're nowhere near that. And now you just press fit these and tuck it in, and you're locked right into place. But most of the tension is here on these two and in the front. And the reason is, like I said, I didn't really want to screw this up and wreck it. I wanted to get it right, and that meant not undoing work I've done. There's no point putting it here. With this is the highest brace point. The other starts below the line where this is an issue. No, it's there. That's why you got to push in first, have those points to lock in tension, and this one is open so that I don't corrupt this, because there's a lip here, and I knew that if it was ellipse everywhere, it would be a problem. I need a place where I can lock in where there is no lip. And on the back side, there is no lip. Right here, there is no lip. So those are your two places. So what you do is you actually come into it like that. But if you do, you're going to be doing the same thing to that front lip. So I actually come into it from this side, front down, then press into it here, and you'll see what I mean. Now you just pop it down. And it's so sweet. It makes it really easy. Once the trim is done, it'll be finished. And that's going to be the longest part, so I'm not even going to bother to show it. I don't even know if I'll bother right now. But eventually I'll probably throw a piece of trim on it just so that it looks more even. And that'll just be cosmetic, eh? Just put a piece like this around and make it so that it fits. But that's actually real pain in the butt. And I'll use a lot of material doing that. And all you do is just make a line, trim it, put it on the edge, glue it in place, and then trim the other edge to fit. And that's all I'm going to do. It's easy as pie. Keith out.